Hey guys, this is the EU Insurtech and Investment Show live, and I strongly believe it's the first time in 50 episodes I actually named it correctly. Super happy for that. Thank you very much for being here, and don't forget to share, like, and comment this as much as possible in order to show the algorithm that you love this show. Also at my size, not my size, of course, I'm 20 kilos heavier, but at my side, it's Florian Graillot. Thank you very much for being here and being the co-host of the show. And of course, our star guest, Claire from Lola Health. We have a lot of great things to hear from her. Yeah. Florian, how have you been so far?
Great. As usual, thanks a lot for being there once again. Thanks a lot, Claire, for being with us. And just before jumping on learning more from Lola Health, I will share, let's say, the traditional figures about the investment last month. And I believe that they are very, let's say, representative of what has been happening on the Insurtech scene in Europe since the beginning of the year. Because if we have a look at the amount raised during October, it's very tiny, only 31 million euros invested in Insurtech across Europe. So that's very small. On the other hand, if we have a look at the number of rounds that were announced, 7 of them, that's quite significant anyway, and at least that's the average over the year. So still the same pattern. Very few amounts of money invested, but still a lot of activity in terms of deals invested, and still significant rounds. As you can see, Cantev and NIT, 2 French insurtech startups, have raised 10 million euros. And more generally, the French ecosystem was very active in October after 2-3 months being very quiet. And we are very lucky, by the way, to have Claire, who is a co-founder of Lola Health. And she will share a bit more about, let's say, what you are building, because you announced around last month. So you are among this fintech and insurtech ecosystem in France. So thanks a lot for being with us. Maybe, and to start with, for those that don't know you and Lola Health, could you say a few words in 1 or 2 sentences? Basically, what is Lola Health about?
Yeah, maybe thank you first for inviting me on that LinkedIn Live. I've never tried that format, so it's the first time for me. And so a few words on Lola Health. We are the first inclusive digital health insurance company targeting gender specificities. We just realized that traditional insurance companies haven't updated the grids in decades. And this is a huge problem because the society has evolved a lot. And I think that talking about health in 2022 is talking about mental health, talking about alternative medicine, and about disease that has been historically set aside, and especially around women's health. So we sell our insurance in France to companies in France that have the legal obligation to provide health insurance to their employees. And we offer them to turn a legal obligation into a real commitment social tool.
And by the way, that's very interesting. You entered that kind of positioning because you mentioned, and that's also very obvious on your website because you refer a lot to employees. Why do you selected that kind of positioning? And I guess that you are targeting, I don't know, the HR teams, or so. What was the purpose to target, let's say, employees and then companies and their HR teams? I guess.
I think the way we saw the corporate life has deeply changed in the past few years, and this even more with the COVID crisis and the Generation Z. Employees are looking for a place of a well-being place where they will be respected for their own individuality. And I truly think that the non-human-centric companies are going to have a huge problem, especially in recruitment. So in that context of a war of talents, companies must prove their social commitments and show that social benefits are not only about baby food or ping pong tables, but about taking position that really makes sense. And with Lola Health, we allow them to prove their social commitments, for example, with the parity in health. And we allow them also to gain points in the rating for labels such as B Corp. So maybe one point to understand, we are a mission-driven company. So we work for a more inclusive health system for all. And by taking a significant part in charge, the company helps the accessibility of care for all. So it's very important for us to have the company to take that part of the insurance.
And by the way, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that beyond, let's say, trying to be a competitive edge, that's what we hear in your words. You have also, or you are building an ecosystem of services around the pure insurance product. That's something that we hear quite often, let's say, in insurance, the ecosystem challenge being one of them for that industry as a whole, specifically maybe in the health part of insurance. Why do you believe such a bundle, let's say, is relevant? Is that just for, let's say, prevention? Is that just for increasing your NPS, Net Promoter Score? Is there any specific purpose? And why, since inception, and so obviously, again, on your website, you're advertising this kind of services around the pure insurance product?
I think there are two topics here. The first one is how to cover and to offer a consistent and personalized services at the right moment in the healthcare pathway, and then how to succeed in taking a position as an actor in the prevention. In the first case, the traditional insurance companies have huge directories of partners, but nobody ever consults it. Nobody cares about it. And in our application, we want to push the right partners at the right time. I will give an example. Of course, I am a woman, but in the maternity, I can have subject of perineum reconstruction, but I do not know that tools allow me to do it at home. Well, in the application, I can have that information at the right moment. And this is very, very important for us. Then about the prevention, I think the core of the health insurance business model is to make sure that cares are little consumed, and therefore that people do not get sick. So our ambition is to be a key player in prevention by reminding people when to perform, for example, screening. And just because the lack of knowledge is the reason why people don't have a perfect and fully coverage. So how can people use their insurance if they don't even know that they are ill? It's impossible. So we have to push it. And in the application, we want to gamify that prevention to create a win-win situation. So we have better claim management, and our members have better health and spend less money, by the way.
But Claire, to be the devil's advocate, I understand that it's in long term makes sense to invest a lot on the prevention in order to lower your combined ratio and your healthcare cost. As a carrier, makes total sense, or insurance company makes total sense to do that. If you're an MGA or not, that doesn't matter. But short term, I would say I'm hearing in my ear in very old school insurance executives that would say now, Claire, isn't it even better when they don't go to the doctor short term because we don't need to pay for it?
But it depends. I think the best is to have the last member sick, because if you say, okay, don't go to the doctor, one people can have a breast cancer in 2-3 years. So it's completely stupid to wait. You have to preventing the rising of sickness.
Yep.
This is my way to see things, but maybe it's not the traditional assurance mind.
Yeah, it's rather a short-term / long-term perspective, and depending on how you see things about. And by the way, you took an example around what we could call femtech or whatever the right name, but you take a very personal example. And again, beyond that's something that you highlight as well, the health for women, services for women as well. Why such a focus is that, and how does that resonate with the very beginning that you refer to inclusion, etc.? So yeah, what do you think and what are you doing very specifically toward that basically half of the population by design?
Yes, we are focused on women's health because our positioning is to be the leader on missing cares and new cares. And I think if we are all a little bit honest, there is a reality. Women's cares has been historically put aside in the history, in the medical system. And they have more biological events such as maternity, menstruation, contraception, menopause that requires cares and of course expenses. So the idea is more to rebalance their cares, and in any case, it has an impact both for men and women, because when you take an health insurance, it's for you, but also for your wife or for your daughters. So it's okay for all, I think. And to be more specific on our refunds, we have specific supports on life moments such as the infertility or MAP, which concern men and women, by the way. Maternity with the birth center, with postpartum depression. We refund contraception, treatment of disease such as the polycystic ovary syndrome or the endometriosis, because they struggle with the pain, and so it's very important for her to have alternative medicine, for example. So I will not say it's competitive advantage, because customers do not come especially for that, but between two health insurance between two mutual companies, that they will maybe prefer to have that plus.
Yeah.
That plus, I think.
I only have one side note concerning following your arguments. You also could have actually founded a company focusing on men, since life expectation of men is way below. And I always say, actually, we need to increase life expectancy of men to get the life expectancy gap, to close it there. But let's not go down that route. That we can maybe have at a insurance and Insurtech event next year, COVID-free. Looking forward to that. Let's discuss it then. You have a pretty impressive partnership. You nailed a partnership with AXA. Let's talk about that. How was that? And all AXA colleagues, please now turn off the show, and the rest can listen. How went that down, and how was it?
It was a long story, but long story short, we at the beginning we have to find a risk barrier. It's the first thing to do to create an health insurance company. And I thought that AXA was very old school, but they were the more quick to answer to us. So we just contact them like that on LinkedIn. And they were very interesting on the women's health part, because they're creating some specific health insurance products for women. So we were talking about the same language, I think. So it was very easy to create the model. I think we create the first coverage in 4 months, something like that.
Whoa, that's quick.
So that means that you developed a product based on what you had in mind, or was it a product available off the shelf, or was it in between, like quite often in insurance?
We have created our own products with AXA by integrating our original treatments with a standard, because we use a standard for the hospitality, the dental, the optical.
Okay, makes sense. And by the way, if I remember well, you have 2 kind of product, Lola 1 and Lola 2, with different level of coverage. Yeah. I guess that it's the difference between 1 and 2. It's I guess that on number 2 you are more you have a better coverage than the first one.
It's the level of the coverage.
Okay.
A basic and a premium.
And by the way, you mentioned that relationship with AXA as an insurance company. I guess that you have an MGA model, right? And If so, why did you choose that model compared to obviously Alan, well known in France, which is a French and full stack Insurtech company, and same in Germany with Autonova, which is also a full stack carrier. And by the way, last month we had Pitchy, which is based in the UK and which has the same model as you, MGA. So happy to hear your thoughts on why you choose that model.
First of all, creating a full stack insurance company requires a huge amount of funds. And the insurance model in itself is a very cash hungry model, I think. You have to anticipate all the refund, the claims with a large and constant cash flow. And in France, becoming an insurance company is complex in terms of accreditation, whereas the MGA model is quicker. And when you create a company, you have to prove your product market fit quickly in order to scale and then maybe switch in a full stack model. So it was the very beginning, a first step for us.
Cool. Yeah, I know the funds that were necessary to set up the full health insurers. I think they're, it's 8 digits at least. So it's not a easy, fun, short-term thing to do. So, and I think it's super interesting to go down MGA, and then when it's really blowing up, you can say, these 50 million, let's go for full insurer.
No, and I think maybe one point very important, the big insurers has been around for years and they are doing their job pretty well. So we must create value when it is relevant. They allow us leaving time to focus on what we do best, being user-centric. So focus on customer experience, identify new needs, creating a tech and using data. So the MGA model, give us flexibility, and we can put insurers in competition to have better pricing in innovative products, for example.
And building also an ecosystem of services, which raised the point and the question that I have, because that's something that we see time to time, and there is always the question make or buy. So most of the services that you mentioned are, so there is one part which is rather user experience, but for instance, if I remember well, there is an option for teleconsultation, for instance, and I guess that you will add more services in the future. So how do you do them internally or process them internally? Are you relying on external player? Is that one or the other, depending on the service that we consider?
To begin, we used all the services of AXA and we put them in our application because they have it, so we use it. But the idea is to be a little bit more individual in the future and to create our own services. But I think, for example, for Alan, they created a lot of services, but all people do not use all that services. We have to focus maybe on one or two specific, or to push the right services to the right person. I mean, it's super cool to have a service on mental health, but if you do not have any problem in mental health, that's not useful. So we really want to target specificities and to push the right services at the right person.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we talked a lot about your products, your services, your offering, and a big topic is what's your team look like about? Who does do all the magic? Is it mainly sales, mainly tech, mainly insurance, mainly marketing guys, investors?
All of them. No, so we are 3 co-founders and we have a CTO in the core team. We recently onboarded a head of acquisition, someone in growth hacking and lead generation, and someone in the marketing. I think it's a very competitive market, and focusing more resources on the direct sales pays off in a short-term vision, but we will burn cash to recruit a mass of sales, and in France, an employee is super expensive. So in a long-term strategy, we prefer to bet on a strong brand image, especially on new needs, to have more qualified customer at a lower cost. So we really want to grow the team with a marketer.
Yeah.
On that strategy.
It's super interesting because we are also big fans of attention hacking because we also wrote a book about it, but I don't want to do any advertisement, even though the English version is coming next year. Unbelievable. All right, but I know Florian had another question.
Yeah, no, I think that's quite interesting, and maybe in terms of tech, because that's my rather focus. You refer to your mobile app. Is that already available? Is that live soon? And how do you think people and who would be the user of that app? Are these the end customer? Are we talking about the HR team that we referred to before? So how do you see that kind of product rather than tech, that product in the ecosystem and related to what you mentioned on creating the brand and attracting good customers or relevant customers?
The tech part is not only on the employee application, because we had first to launch our subscription tool on our website. This one is very important because people have to onboard by themselves. So it was the very first tool to launch. Today we are working on the HR application. Don't forget that our first customers are the companies, so all the HR's team wants something that is very simple. And I think Alan creates a must-have with that application, so people want to find exactly the same thing for the basic features. So we are launching the HR app this month. And then for the employee app, we will launch it at the end of January.
So it seems as Claire doesn't have any Christmas vacation. Looks like it to be. So sorry for that. It's super cool. But what I don't understand is, why should you have an HR app? Is it because the health insurance is distributed mainly via company plans? Okay, got it.
In France, it's a legal obligation. The company has to take it. And so the first customer for us is the HR. So they decided to take the health insurance, and then the employee can use it.
Yeah, cool.
It's cool.
What I really like about the idea is that we have seen in the Insurtech community actually that acquiring B2C customers is super hard, and a lot have switched, and some got slaughtered. And what I really think it's interesting that we see that you go down the B2B route a little bit. I think that's super, super interesting. And in Germany, we have also, for example, Xempus, which is in pension plan, and they have been doing this also super successfully. So I think it's super exciting to see that there. And, B2B's also fun. Florian, you have some last questions left, I think.
Yeah, and I think that this is the perfect, let's say, link with the fundraising, because you kind of shared a bit of teasing around the next product that would be live very soon. So basically, can you say a bit more about the fundraising, not necessarily about the amount, but rather why did you raise money and what are the next steps, and maybe make the link between the product that you referred to and the team members that you might be looking for?
Yeah, so we raised a pre-seed with funds and business angels, mainly to develop the tech. So we recruit our CTO at that moment, and especially for the app and the prevention, because in the future, we really want to develop our own algorithm for the prevention. And this is a huge, huge work. So we have to have not only a CTO, but also a data scientist and several more developers. And we are looking to recruit some techs actually. And of course, the acquisition and the volumes in the restaurants are the more important. So we have to recruit a lot of people in marketing, but also in acquisition, like sales.
I have a question, a fun fact. Do you know the Female Founders Forum at Insurtech at ITC, Insurtech Connect, and in Las Vegas? Have you heard about them?
Is there a link with HEC, the school?
No, I send you something later on, because I think Jennifer Byrne, who sometimes drops by in this awesome show, runs the Female Founders Forum, and there's also maybe some interesting things there to connect. But yes, Florian,
I think I heard about it. I think I heard about it by one of our business angels.
See, maybe, yeah. Awesome.
I guess that there are plenty of initiatives. I'm thinking about Women in Insurtech as well, that is run. Also, there are plenty of ways to leverage that kind of opportunity that you discussed before, having that not unique, but that strong focus, which makes a lot of sense, and which, by the way, is a clear competitive edge on the market right now. By the way, I think that maybe the last question, which is the usual one that I will stall to you, Robin. But by the way, now that you have shared a lot, and thanks a lot for all this insight, the perspective, the positioning, the competitive edge, and in advance the next release of your product. So thanks a lot for this kind of secret sauce. Is there any way the ecosystem that is listening to us could be helpful? Could it be in subscribing to your health insurance, or could it be for team members if you are looking for very specific talents that you struggle to acquire or to attract?
I think, yes, we need to recruit in tech, as I said, and to onboard more and more clients. So if auditors have a company and want to bring their company in an ethical health approach, feel free to contact us. And maybe one word about our main challenge, because I think today's the main challenge is to have a huge volume of customers. But the more important for me, it's the challenge of tomorrow. We have to succeed in creating a huge tool in the prevention. And I think this is important because we have to be coached by people in the health system, by people in data, by people in deep tech also. So if some people are interested in that ambition to transform our health system, feel free to contact.
Yeah, thank you very much. Don't hesitate to do that. Thank you very much, Florian, for your time. Thank you very much, Claire, for not only sharing your time, but also pushing the important topic of prevention. I strongly believe in 20 years' time, we won't talk about claims in health insurance, but we're talking about years and lives saved even more as we do today. So thank you very much for that. Shout out to all of you. Florian and I will have a spectacular show in December. Everything's planned out. There's a big conspiracy going on behind the scenes. So don't hesitate to tune in then. And even though when you like the show and you have not clicked like, share, and commented yet, which you have been very, very, savvy on us, don't hesitate to do it. And we see us next time. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Claire.
Bye. Thanks a lot. Bye.